welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, December 11th, 2018. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines today took the first step toward the establishment of a medical marijuana industry after hearing debates from both sides of Parliament. The Medicinal Cannabis Industry Bill, which lays out the legislative framework for the industry for patient care and scientific research, was approved. Wrapping up debate on the bill, Minister of Agriculture Sabota Caesar said the legal framework establishing the medicinal marijuana industry is legally and scientifically sound and will bring the intended benefits to SVG. Highlighting the legal soundness of the bill, Minister Caesar said SVG's international obligations were thoroughly examined. He pointed to reports made by the International Narcotics Drug Board from 2014 to 2017, which mandates all countries to limit narcotic drugs to medicinal and scientific purposes.
17, this is the last one. It says at page 117, under the recommendations, all governments, St. Vincent and the Grenadines included, all governments are reminded that in the outcome document of the 30th Special Session of the General Assembly, member states reaffirmed their commitment to the goals and objectives of the 3 international drug control conventions. Pursuant to those conventions, the use of a narcotic drug is limited to medical and scientific purposes. All other uses are incompatible with the international drug control legal framework, and the board calls upon all states to respect their legal obligations in this regard.
Caesar said these obligations must not be slighted, as it can have negative implications on banking in the country.
That the point which was raised by the Honorable Minister of Finance, that there is a strong possibility that if you do not follow closely your international legal obligations pursuant to the conventions that we have signed on to, that it is not far-fetched that they can have serious and severe implications on banking. The case that we are going to make, Mr. Speaker, if the issue is raised that we cannot have the banking models that we are proposing, we are going to say, but we are acting within the 4 corners of international law. Therefore, do not place us in the same boat as other countries that you have visited that have acted out of line. Because the Honorable Minister for Finance clearly noted, if you can't move the money, you can't do business.
The Agriculture Minister said he recognizes the recommendations made to bring the marijuana herbalist on board. However, work must be done to ensure that their products meet particular standards.
Mr. Speaker, the bill satisfies the following requirements. It exhibits a high level of social and public responsibility. It promotes industry, and I take very seriously the point which was raised consistently, the role of the herbalist, and it is going to be the task of the Bureau of Standards and Industry and the diversification unit to meet these herbalists and bring them up to the level where they can produce a product that can be properly labeled and sold on the local market and even exported, and to have joint ventures with local investors, persons from the region, and also foreign direct investors. The bill is scientifically sound, and the bill is intra vires national and international legal jurisprudence. Mr. Speaker, for these reasons and supportive reasons from other members of this Honorable House, I wish this bill a safe passage through this House.
And Opposition Member of Parliament for North Leeward, Roland Patel Matthews, in his contribution to the debate on the bill on Monday, said while they are in support of a medicinal marijuana industry for SVG, they do not believe it fully addresses the needs of traditional marijuana farmers. Matthews noted that traditional growers have historically planted in the hills and many, if not all of them, do not have title to lands as would be required with the regulations for the medical marijuana industry. He said the government must go the extra step to provide lands for these growers, thus giving them an incentive to move away from illegal cultivation.
I'm hoping, Mr. Speaker, that some provision be made for, you see, we're talking about traditional farmers, we have them in a category that is special. I want to see that they are treated in a special way. So I want the state to take up the responsibility in assisting traditional farmers in leaseholds in areas that are not being used for agriculture, so that they could continue, or freehold, they could continue the planting of medical marijuana. Because we want to get them out of the hills. And what is going to happen if the arrangement is such that they are going to be left on their own, they are going to continue the illegal planting in the hills. So you have to make sure we have something worked out as far as land tenure is concerned.
Matthew said emphasis must also be placed on those who practice traditional medicine using marijuana.
You see, and even the bill itself is crafted in a manner as if marijuana is something you have to handle with care or with some big gloves on your hand to make sure it don't touch your skin. You have to change the mindset, Mr. Speaker, of our people. And that is why education as a part of this trust going forward is important, to let our people understand that this marijuana plant that our grandparents have been using for donkey years to ease the pain, to get rid of the cold. I can't tell us, I saw somebody suffering from epilepsy that we used to call fits, and it's home use. But interestingly, Mr. Speaker, in the bill, we have no place, it seems, for the traditional medicine people then. The people in the village used to boil this and boil that for help out. The herbalists. But I hope that we could correct that going forward, Mr. Minister. Yeah.
Calling for the decriminalization of the marijuana for recreational use, Matthews said the government needs to take advantage of an available niche market.
Medical cannabis industry are pushing. We should be as well find a way how to get recreational marijuana outside of citizens. You think about marijuana, unlike banana, where our main place to sell was in Europe, and somewhere in the Caribbean, recently in the Caribbean region. But we made our money from Europe. Medical marijuana and recreational marijuana, they have more markets now than bananas. Millions of dollars in Antigua from Whoopi Goldberg investment. That's right. But anyway, but the point is, Mr. Speaker, there's a thing that we can do. And I believe recreational marijuana is something that we should have given some consideration to.
Meanwhile, Minister of Finance Camila Gonsalves said a democracy is held together by compromise, and the law which facilitates the creation of a medicinal marijuana industry is a good compromise which takes into consideration all of the concerns of a wide cross-section of stakeholders. Using a quote from former U.S. President Barack Obama, Minister Gonsalves said the law was well put together and will bring benefits to the country.
The liberal and libertarian and conservative views about the use of drugs and various social actors and non-governmental organizations. And it's a product of all of these interests. And sometimes yesterday I only heard some interests being advanced to the detriment of others. But I remember a quote from then President Barack Obama, who said, and I'm quoting him, "A good compromise, a good piece of legislation is like a good sentence or a good piece of music. Everybody can recognize it, and they can say, yes, I recognize it, and it works, and it makes sense." And that is what we're striving for here today, and that is what I think we have achieved, that the discordant notes from all of those interest groups have been brought together in a harmonious whole by our conductor, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. And I think that the symphony we hear will be sweeter once it is implemented and people see the actual benefits of what we're producing.
The finance minister said while there is an evolving trend which supports marijuana use and cultivation, he reminded persons that the bill is strictly for the creation of a medical cannabis industry.
We're not trying to say, well, because fellas can smoke weed on the block, and the honorable member for West Kingstown said, you know, he can't walk through town and certain areas without smelling the weed, and people are smoking it all over. This legislation is not an attempt to codify that practice. To say, well, if fellas are smoking weed on the block, then this legislation now officially lets them do what they've already been doing. No. This legislation is to establish an industry, a pharmaceutical industry, for the export of pharmaceutical products. That's the purpose of this legislation.
Inmates at Her Majesty's prisons raised issues and concerns about crime in St. Vincent and the Grenadines during the annual prison public speaking debate competition. The activity forms part of Prison Week, being held under the theme Holding Hands, Changing Lives for Reintegration. Larissa Pugsley Kidd tells us more about today's public speaking in this report.
The causes, effects, and solutions to crime in SVG were discussed today from the perspective of inmates at Her Majesty Prison. Among those who competed in the prison debating competition were 8 inmates, 4 men and 4 young women, who listed poverty, lack of parental guidance, unemployment as some of the causes of crime in the country. Former journalist Junior Jarvis, who is behind bars on the murder charge, was adjudged a winner for the best prepared speech, while Eugene Noel, who was recently convicted for rape, won the impromptu speech. Before the debate started, Superintendent of Prisons Brenton Charles told the prisoners that they are in a position to speak on crime, and though they are behind bars, they should not be afraid to speak from their mind on the issue.
I want you all to give it your best shot in every area, because whether you believe it or not, you are affected by crime as well. Your families are affected, friends are affected, and all of society is affected one way or another. And if you have, or if you can formulate solutions, I think the nation would be better off for it and would be happy for it as well. And so I encourage you again to be frank, to be open, and to deliver fearlessly.
Jarvis, the winner of the prepared speech in his 10 minutes, listed many causes of crime and noted that the blame game must stop. He said that crime starts in the home and laws have little or no effect in cracking down on crime.
In every single one of us, there lurks a potential criminal. That includes you, society, Mr. Lock him up and throw away the key, or Mrs. Bring back the death penalty. This is the reality. Our past, recent, and current prison population here shows that we are all criminal material, though not necessarily criminals, mind you. Society, listen to me carefully. What we see manifesting, yes, new word, manifesting. You can hashtag it, I can't. What you see manifesting around us is already within us. We can get it right by doing some serious self-examinations. And I'm not talking about mammograms or prostate here. I'm talking about some serious soul searching. Until that day, when we put pride aside and embrace humility, and if we continue to look outwardly for the answers and remedies for crime, suffering, and sorrow, that solution will remain nothing but a fleeting illusion to be pursued, but never attained.
The winner for the impromptu speech, Noel, chose bugs as his topic and took on the challenge by Superintendent Charles of being fearless in speaking his mind. Bugs, he said, are many in the prisons, to which he got a resounding response from fellow inmates.
Last night I lay down on that bunk. All sort of things I feel biting my skin. Nobody warned me what I was up against. Lo and behold, I asked. I was told it was my sins that was biting me. Bugs are infested with bugs. We can't sleep properly at night. I observe prisoners appear to be whining on their bed, uncomfortable, just because of bugs. Sometimes you eat your bread, you see bugs in your bread, all in your... You want me to go on? Do you want me to go on? In this prison, bugs is one of the many harm. I thank you.
The debate competition is part of a week of activities organized by the Prison Service in observance of Prison Week. Tomorrow is the meet and greet of inmates and families at the prison. Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
The police here have arrested and charged Brent Samuel, a 36-year-old mason of Otley Hall, with the offense of attempted bigamy. In the news release, the police says Samuel did an act which was more than merely preparatory to the commission of the offense by allegedly trying to get married while being married at Bookament Bay about 10 a.m. on Saturday, December 8th. Samuel was additionally charged with allegedly giving a person employed in the public service information in the truth of which he did not believe, namely that he is a bachelor, intending thereby to cause the employee to grant a marriage license, which she ought not to have done if the facts with such information was known to her. And the police are investigating a report of attempted arson and burglary which occurred at Redemption Shops between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, December 8th. According to preliminary investigations, some unknown person or persons allegedly entered the dwelling house of a 60-year-old businesswoman of Green Hill with the intention to commit the offense of arson. The perpetrators reportedly set a blue mattress and a quantity of clothing alight and stole a quantity of cash from the virtual complainant. The police investigations are ongoing. News coming to hand is that a hearing in the election petitions case is expected to take place next Monday, December 17th, before a new judge. The judge is expected to replace Justice Esco Henry, who recused herself from the matter last week. Monday's hearing is said to be more of a case management and a way forward. In a recent interview with SVG-TV News, lawyer for the petitioners Kebacus Batiste indicated that they intend to write the Chief Justice to select a new judge who should get familiar with the case before the next hearing date set aside for the petitions on February 11th, 2019. Large shipments of Christmas barrels have begun to dock at Port Kingstown and at Camden Park. And to deal with the influx, more than 100 persons have gained temporary employment at the ports. As we hear in this report from Larissa Pugsley-Kidd, the Port Authority has also made new changes to ensure efficiency, which persons should take advantage of.
Persons expecting barrels for the Christmas season will no longer have to go to the main office of the Port Authority for entry passes. This can now be done at the Kingstown Port location. Chief Executive Officer of the Port Authority, Bishop John, told SVG-TV News that they are working to improve efficiency. Hence, they need to have a change in location of handing out these passes.
For the first time, for persons who are accustomed to this system, normally when you go into the Kingstown Port, you would have to come to the general office to collect your entry pass, ISPS pass. We have now put this location to the Kingstown Deepwater Pier, making it closer and more efficient for persons so that you no longer have to come to the general office and walk over to the main transit shed. So that location is now at the transit shed where you can go there, present your identification pass and collect an entry pass to the compound.
He said hundreds of barrels continue to arrive in the country and that they have opened up the Geest Shed building to store some of these barrels. He further noted that more than 120 temporary jobs were taken up by persons to help locate and to distribute cargo. The Geest Shed location, he said, is only for barrels shipped from Canada, which tends to have the largest shipment for the season. John noted that there were some delays in shipments and that it was out of their control.
As a Port Authority, we have no control over when cargo comes. There have been occasions where we were expecting as much as 11 containers of barrel, and they have been delayed. We have no control over this. But however, what we do is that we do anticipate the inflow of barrels, and we make plans ahead of time. So although we had made plans for 11 barrels that did not come, and that came the following week, we were able to put things in place pretty quickly to address that.
Meanwhile, John is reminding persons to keep track of their barrels and to contact their agents to see if the paperwork for the barrels have been cleared. He also advised that persons make use of the hotline number that the Port Authority has put in place. This, he said, will avoid any hiccups in the system.
A lot of times when we find the barrels are here and the persons are just not aware that the barrels are here. And then, so we open a barrel, we would have it, a container, we would have it on the ground for 3 days. And there's only 10% of the cargo is cleared. And then persons will say that they were not aware. So what we're going to do now, we're working closer with the agents. We have a hotline that we have set up at the Port Authority that you can call the Port Authority to find out information on the arrival of the vessels, arrival of the opening of the containers, and the availability of your barrel.
As of Friday, the 14th of December, the Port Authority will be opened late. He said they will also be opened on weekends up until Christmas. Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
28 students, including 5 Vincentians of the All Saints University or Medical School, are one step closer to realizing their dream of becoming medical doctors. The students received their white coats at a ceremony last Saturday and will now transition to the clinical aspects of their studies. Speaking at the ceremony, Dean of Clinical Studies, Raisha Brown-Caesar, said this is another important chapter in the medical students' lives, and they must now accept the responsibility and sacrifices which comes with the study of medicine. Highlighting aspects of the Hippocratic Oath, Brown-Caesar issued several challenges to the future medical practitioners, the first of which is to consider each day a learning experience.
Learning does not end on graduation day. Every day, every single morning, I get emails from multiple journals telling me on an update in medicine. The guidelines that I learned to diagnose hypertension, they change last year, they change every couple of years. The medications that are used, a couple of weeks ago, valsartan, which was the go-to drug for heart disease, is now off the market completely because of some pesticide. So you have to be a lifelong learner, so you are able to impart this knowledge in real time with your patients. You have to be a reader, you have to be a teacher, you have to be a scientist. You have to share your knowledge freely. Holding on to the knowledge will not help you. Speaking it out allows you to recognize where there are deficits and allow you to improve on that and enhance your knowledge through research.
Brown-Caesar also challenged the medical students to do all that is necessary to save lives. She also appealed to them to observe patient confidentiality.
I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not to disclose to me, not for me to tell others. First post phenomenon. In the age of Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everybody wants to be the first to break the news. This person has died, this person is in an accident. That's not for us, all right? Leave that to the reporters. That's not for medicine, okay? We are entrusted with patients' intimate secrets, and sometimes they don't want us to even tell their relatives, and we have to respect that right, all right? Patient confidentiality is important. Not only is it important from an integrity perspective, but there are also legal consequences to breaching patients' confidentiality.
She took the opportunity to remind the medical students that their profession must come to grips with death and to remain resolute and not to give up hope when a patient dies.
Listen, death is as much a reality as is life and must be managed accordingly. Avoid errors, whether it is of omission or commission. I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect a person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems. If I am to care for that sick, we must recognize the need for ancillary services, the need for counseling, the need for a social worker referral, the need for nutritional support, the need for child care services with a sick single mother or father. These are an important part of treating, as important as treating the ill person, so that you take away the burden of worry of them being sick.
More than 60 art pieces are on display at the National Public Library as part of a month-long exhibition put on by Art in Action and the library. 12 artists are participating in the exhibition as they showcase their talent and creativity through drawing, paintings, and photography. Artist and librarian Gian Julian said it is timely to have such an exhibition.
So this has fit in to showcase all the local Vincentian artists in St. Vincent, especially for this Christmas season and throughout next year. It runs from December the 10th until December the 31st, and when the National Library is open from Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 5 o'clock, and on Saturday, 9:30 to 12:30. So all persons are invited to come out and see all the pieces and the exhibitors who are showcasing their work.
Julian said it is not too late for any artist who is interested in showcasing their work to get on board. This is the first exhibition by the Art in Action organization, which was formed several years ago. One of its members, Robert Joyett, said it is their first exhibition and they hope to make it an annual event.
We saw it fitting for having an organization that could help to propel and mobilize the art industries and the creative industries in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I mean, it has been, for a while, the creative industries has been very dormant for a while. So the idea, me, Kingsley, and a few others founded that organization.
The exhibition, which opened on Monday, will remain open to the public until the 30th of December.